Productivity, I hate it. I'm not even talking about growth. Yeah, I'm anti-growth. Growth is a destructive economic goal for a species on the verge of eating and digging and burning up the planet. We're so bent on using our time to greatest effect. What a load of baloney. Have you heard how they've been cutting back on recess in grade schools? As if kids are workers who need to be cranking out product at every possible instant. Even back when I was in elementary school, recess was considered a form of gold bricking. It was treated as a necessary evil by teachers, even by nice teachers. School was treated as a job. If you weren't doing an assigned task or a self-directed but productive educational project, you were being wasteful or lazy. I feel I spent the ages of 5 to 18 at a nearly full-time job where I was meant to be managed and herded. We were told there was something very wrong and even antisocial about doing what one felt like doing. In high school, I skipped out on class as often as possible. There was freedom in absenting myself from my assigned location. To this day, I find myself rebelling against productivity from one moment to the next. The negative sensations associated with being productive or using my time constructively are far deeper and more complex than mere laziness or avoidance or procrastination. There's an abdication of self in being other than inert. There is a fear of a loss of what pop psychology calls agency. When I avoid activity, I own myself. Of course, I miss out on a great deal and leave a great deal undone. But then again, the great deal feels like a false promise. Don't you want the great deal? You'll be missing out on a great deal. Come and get the great deal. Some poor soul stuck a flyer in the grill of our storm door yesterday. Sunset Gold Exchange, cash for gold. We pay top dollar for your gold jewelry. What a great deal. The poor soul got a great deal accomplished by putting flyers in so many doors and under so many windshield wipers. She was out there getting a great deal by getting a great deal done, peddling a great deal. Handing out flyers for the gold exchange sums up the squalor I associate with working. What are we working for? I'm tempted to call a general strike from now to the end of time. Nobody pays attention to what I call for anyway. If you have a spouse and children, you are making a life for them and yourself. To me, this is circular squalor. Your life has meaning because you have created life, which must be maintained and perpetuated. You don't care as much about that which is outside your realm, the meaninglessness of it necessarily, but more so for the meaningful microcosm you have fashioned around yourself. Meanwhile, the squalid system of our collective endeavor, whatever that might be, is skimming more and more off the top of what you're lending your efforts toward. What is our collective endeavor? At the moment, we seem to be engaged in destroying the planet and stealing resources and possibilities from poor people, expanding our wasteful lifestyle into the habitats of other animals until those animals die or are threatened to the extent they must be preserved in zoos. Incidentally, you are now witnessing the power of negative thinking. Most people grow out of these thoughts if they ever have them to begin with. They find something to believe in and place it at the center of their lives, pushing the collective endeavor's nauseous squalor to the outskirts of their attention. I envy this ability. At the same time, I'm a bit horrified by it. I'd like to believe I'm somehow constitutionally immune from going along with the crowd. What, after all, is the point in being so civically crippled in my framing of the human condition if it doesn't provide some benefit to someone, either to humanity or myself? But I am not as antisocial as all that. I like people, and I want them to like me. I have the human need to connect to the larger social organism. Sure, it's difficult for me to adopt groupthink propositions, but not impossible. The propositions only have to be the right ones. Since coolness began, maybe somewhere back in the 1920s, we have all become cool in one way or another now. To find a group with an ostensibly ostracized code or set of queer qualities and to adopt it as one's tribe, to navigate the group's etiquette and learn to finesse one's way through its social chess strategies can be immensely satisfying. And every in-group has its outs, its others. There's no way around it. The more clearly a group perceives itself at odds with the larger society, the more clearly it can define what irks and oppresses it. And the greater the number and kinds of people possessing those irksome qualities or belonging to those oppressive rival structures. Patriarchy, heteronormativity, ableism, America, capital finance, whiteness, Eurocentrism, Islamo-Judeo-Christianism. And for someone in my condition, that can only lead to rebellion against even those, against everything and everybody. We know what we're against because we know what we're for. But I'm not for anything, and I'm not good for anything. Attachments are the death of freedom. In avoiding attachments, however, I have not become more free, oddly enough. Or maybe I've just become detached from the ideal of freedom. There is no freedom, come to think of it. There is only freedom from the oppressive sadness of being oppressed. If you're not sad about it, you're free from it. But I'm not there either. There's a certain not wrongness in my antipathy towards approved activity. I do want to overcome those aspects of it that keep me from doing what I want to do for myself and others, but the path is mined with persuasive arguments for justifiable avoidance. I wish I had been able to have a mentor, but I could never get past the unpleasantness of wanting to be liked by the mentor, which in turn led to avoiding doing things the mentor would approve of so I could be free of the mentor's oppressive expectations. The very expectation of enlightenment through detachment is oppressive. What could be more productive than unlearning and transcending that which causes us to suffer? This is the lesson of Zen and the art of Mobius negation. The biblical prophet Koheleth, rechristened and bowdlerized as Ecclesiastes, said, "All is fruitlessness and chasing the wind," or something like that. He was a real downer. But there are some who say he had once been the wealthiest and most learned of kings before he began wandering around getting on everyone's nerves. All of this winds up sounding like I disapprove of the human project altogether, and that is not my goal. I don't have a goal. Anyway, you only need to watch a GOP debate to be disabused of any notion you had of humanity as the paragon of animals. No one needs my help to become sick of what humans have become. But if no one needs me to do it, that just might be the best reason to go ahead and do it. If we all committed to passing our time in the most irrelevant possible way, we might just, accidentally of course, and without meaning to, and without setting out to, without benevolence or forethought, accomplish something decent for a change. I'm not making a call to action, of course. You know me better than that by now.